on and off button. I'll call the meeting of Tuesday, August 11th at 2015. Called to order at 2 p.m. Roll call, please.
Veronica Frankel.
Present.
Howard Rosenberg.
Present.
Lisa Ruggiero.
Present.
Nick Smith.
Here.
Angela Taylor.
I'm here.
John Mayer.
Here.
Kyle Hood.
Present.
And myself. We are all present and accounted for.
Thank you. Next, is there a motion to approve the agenda?
I so move.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same signal. So carried unanimous. Let the record show. Next, public comment. I do have one.
Pledge.
Oh, I'm sorry. That was for the fourth. Mr. Kyle Hood, since you're new to us and looking sharp, would you lead us in the pledge?
Sure. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the
United States of America
and
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Public comment. I do have one card. Richard Stone. Thank you. 3 minutes.
Good afternoon. My name is Rick Stone. I'm the chairman of the Drug Awareness Program for the State of Nevada Elks Association. And I'm here to let you know that the Elks have a drug awareness program and that we would like the school district to give a little buy-in to our program. I brought some literature, which I gave to the secretary for her to pass around for you to look at. We have several, a lot of us been approved or come to us from the DEA. We also have a comic book that is on bullying that's put out by Marvel Comics that we would like to try and get into the schools. It's no guarantee that you're going to get it. We just fill out the application, send it into Marvel, and they will pick a school in some states and send it to it. We have in the Reno-Sparks area 2 lodges that have drug awareness program. I've given her the addresses and contact information for both the Exalted Ruler and the Drug Awareness Program chairman for those lodges. If you would like to have them distribute brochures or do any drug awareness program stuff at any of your schools, please contact them and they will make arrangements to get it there. We have been doing the poster and essay contests with the schools in the past few years. There's a new contest this year, the video contest, which is designed more for high school kids. And the theme this year is Just Don't Do It. We have all kinds of good stuff. There's a website, if you go to elks.org, drug awareness, there's programs in there that are good for the teachers to even use in the schools if you would approve them to do that. There's quiz. There's other stuff that's available in this program in the Kids Zone. There's also a program coming out of New York State called the Drug Quiz Show, and I'm just going to eventually try and get it into the state of Nevada, and hopefully, because I live in Reno, promoted in Washoe County School District. And the kids at the beginning of the school year, usually 6th graders in their health class, get syllabus of what the questions are and the answers and start studying. And then around February, they start doing like the collegiate show where they have the buzzers and start answering questions about drug awareness. And the state of New York actually was doing scholarships based on this. And the program went broke. The Elks took it over, and we've been doing it, or the Elks have been doing it in New York for 2 years now, and it's been going very well. So again, my theme this year is the life that we may save is someone that you may know and love. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your information and coming down. Could you give Irene the cards and she'll get people in touch with you?
They're passing around.
No, she wants to give her a card so she can get in touch with you.
And I did get in touch with Kathleen Loudon.
Oh,
She
okay.
has the material also.
Okay, great. Thank you very much for coming and sharing that with us.
There for you guys.
Okay. Moving right along to, I have no other public comment cards. Is there anyone that wants to address this? No? Then we'll move right on to board reports. And we'll start with Veronica Frankel, trustee at large.
Well, it's been a busy start of the school year. It was a very exciting start of the school year as my first year on the board. I went to the new teacher breakfast, which I found to be really positive and motivational, sets a great tone for our teachers, and I want to thank all the staff that worked hard to put that together. And then that same day, I know many of the leadership team were in both events as well, the Learn, Teach, and Lead Luncheon. And I want to commend our superintendent for really tremendously setting a great tone for our leaders. And I had a great time, and I want to thank Dan Eccles for encouraging me to attend this, knowing my fondness for leadership. I went to the team captain leadership training, a training event up at Spanish Springs High School last Thursday. And I spent about an hour and a half there. I actually got to jump in, do some of the exercises with these team captains from all the high schools around the district. And I want to just say kudos to the facilitators. We're doing a great job keeping those young people engaged and moving around. And they had these great shirts that said, "Be Uncommon." And I thought that was a really great message. And then, of course, yesterday, big day for the school district. It was my first day of school in some ways, although it was my first day to send my daughter off to her senior year in her own car, which was a first for me as well. And here I was going to my own first day of school events. And so I visited Booth in the morning with Tracy and a number of folks, and John, President Mayor. I went with Joetta Gonzalez to Pine Middle School and to Hidden Valley Elementary School. I want to thank both of them for taking the time and all the principals and the staff of that school. Things seemed like they were going extremely well, both those schools. And then I went with Chad Hicks to Donner Springs, where I actually got to drop in on one of the TWE classes, two-way immersion classes, and chat with the kids in Spanish. And then went to Double Diamond Elementary School and ended the day at AACT. And I have to say I was really glad to be there for that freshman commitment ceremony, to hear the freshmen be recognized individually, to hear them take a pledge to commit to work hard to graduate. It really set a great intention for success, and I was really impressed by that. This morning, I got to drive, well, actually, I didn't drive. Troy Parks, assistant area superintendent, drove to Natchez, sort of check in there, and had a good opportunity to see the school and walk around and hear about some of the challenges and opportunities and great things that are happening, including some new funding and a new communities and school program that's going to be starting there. And then quickly stopped by the Community Health Alliance today to say hello at the open house, and I really appreciate their partnership with us to help our communities be healthier, because that's such a key part of learning for our kids. So a lot. So that's my big litany of things. I probably said a lot of stuff others are going to say, but you let me go first, John. So.
That's all right. That's all right. That way I won't have to say anything. Mr. Rosenberg.
Well, new teachers breakfast, the TMCC leadership meeting in the afternoon, phenomenal. It set the tone, and the tone was really up. Thank you. Transportation retreat or meeting, or I'm not sure what they call it, but I was blown away. I had no idea that our bus drivers do what they do, and it really surprised me. There was one bus driver honored because she was driving along the road, taking the kids to school, and she saw a person lying on the road, and cars were just whizzing by. She told the kids to sit still. They were going to try to help this lady, turned a U-ey, came back and spotted this woman who was having a diabetic attack, and called the dispatcher. The dispatcher radioed for REMSA and probably saved the woman's life. Another two little kids were wandering along the highway, and bus driver stopped and said, "Where are you going?" And the little ones, "We're not sure, we got on the wrong bus." So she put them on her bus and got them where they needed to go. There's a lot of things that we just take for granted that they do, and I had no idea about it. There's a lot of them. They really care. They know each other, and they know how to contact one another, so that they form a net that's a safety net that I had no idea was happening. So then summer graduation at TMCC was absolutely wonderful. Just great. I got a chance to announce the kid's name like I do up at the university. And that's the best honor that you could ever hope to have. And there was one kid that came up, didn't have a card, told me his name, but it was a Hispanic name that was 9 names long. And I couldn't remember even one of them. So I turned the mic to him and I said, say your own name. So he did, and he said thank you to the world that he needed to say thank you to. It went beautifully. It's fun to do that. National Automobile Museum had a Teacher Appreciation Day that was really quite something, because it gave them a chance to wander around to see the cars. And then there was a presentation by the Challenger people. And that was really spectacular. I mean, really special. I fully expect that the National Automobile Museum will soon change its name to the National Automobile and Space Museum, because they are really traveling right along. It was quite something. This morning's Community Health Alliance thing was great. Most of us managed to pass one another. I mean, I said hello to Angie in the parking lot, and because I was going to something else. Not sad part. This was really a great week, last week and the beginning of this week. Now, my whole attention is at the university, because we're going to do the very same thing in the space of, I think, 2 days, which ought to be interesting. May I suggest to all of you that during this week, you avoid any of the roads around the university, because the kids are moving in. And with the road work that's going on, it's a bloody mess. There. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Dr. McCleary?
That's it.
Yes, the beginning of a school year for our children and their families is something that you have to see to behold. And the preparation that goes into it at each school, with each staff, with the parents, with the planning that goes on. There's nothing more exciting than participating in that, and I would agree, and I'm very happy to hear that so many people took the time to share in that adventure. Even though we've all been to school and we think we do know a whole lot of stuff, there are so many people behind the scenes in Washoe County School District that make a tremendous difference every single day for each of the children who are either on those school buses or who are walking or driving in some cases. I also went to 2 of the meetings with the rest of the trustees, and then this last week I went to an open house called the Voice program, which is a vocational education program. I have a special education grandson who has graduated from McQueen. He also passed another proficiency test, and he is going into that program, and I was very, very impressed by the quality of the people who are serving in the program and working with those students. And we must, again, always remember that our community partners make so many of our programs possible because of their willingness to work with all kinds of children and to provide them with role models, with experiences. And they ask very little from the students except be there all the time. And don't be tardy. Don't go off and do something that you probably would rather do. Show up for work. So it really is a work transition program. And in talking to the people there, including Kelly Wales, who wrote me a letter after I had visited there, saying that she was very glad that I had visited. And I am one of those individuals who not only is struck by the quality of instruction within every single classroom, but by why some children do not thrive in those regular classrooms. So talking about the partners again with the Elks Club in relationship to what we're doing with your School Safety Commission, it seems to me that every time we turn around, there's something new, someone doing something that we can include and in partner with within every single program that we have. I still feel very strongly that it does take this village to raise a child. And speaking of the university, my grandson, I thought he was a fitness trainer. No, he's going to be he's a tour guide for Nevada Fit. And he's going to be a sophomore up at UNR this year, second semester sophomore, and he is just thrilled to be back at UNR and looking forward to his future. So all of this pre-K and the full gamut of kindergarten, with all of the people who are taking advantage of that particular opportunity that has been provided by our legislature, I think we also need to say a great big thank you to them for their foresight in not only the full-day kinder, but let's look at all of the programming for the poverty, for the ESL, for the gifted and talented. And we have a lot to be thankful as we walk into this 2015-16 school year, led by what I believe is going to be the most outstanding superintendent we've had here in the last 20 years, that being Miss Tracy Davis.
No pressure.
None whatsoever. And now we'll move to Kyle Hood, who will give us a little report from the way a senior starts his senior year in high school.
Yay.
All right. I don't know. I went to school.
That's the first step.
I don't know. Parking lot's empty. I go to Galena High School, and
Do you have a senior space?
no, they were a little too much for only being there for 2 classes a day. So yeah, but I don't know. I showed up like every year, walked in the front doors, and went to my class.
And you didn't get lost like the freshmen.
Nope.
That's great. You know, Angie and myself and Howard were on the interviewing committee and interviewed the students to be in place here, and Kyle is outstanding, and we're looking forward to him this year giving us advice and entering in on the discussions. It's nice to have you.
Thank you.
Nice to have you. Next, Lisa.
Thank you, President Mayor. Well, ditto to all the beautiful reports so far, and welcome to Kyle. I think I have the best seat in the house, actually. I really enjoy this seat sitting next to our students. So I just want to say kudos to staff and Superintendent Davis. So excited to say those words. I don't think I've said those publicly yet. For such a flawless school start yesterday. I usually, I think it's my 3rd start, and I've learned from experience. I hunker down. I've got my, phone ready. I'm in front of my computer because we hear from parents. But I have to say, I didn't hear from one parent yesterday. I didn't hear about one bus issue. I mean, it was flawless. We had a little bump in the road with mosquitoes over in District A, but I just want to say, again, kudos to staff. I think I texted Superintendent Davis around 4 o'clock, and they were spraying at 5:30 this morning. And I had reports from members in the community, neighbors, who were really concerned yesterday because we had a couple of kids who really got hit hard yesterday with bites. And they were there 5:30 a.m. So staff was working on this late last night in partnership with the county, and so I'm so grateful. Kristen's smiling. Okay, I was wondering. I should have known. But really, it was quite a serious issue. Could have been a health and safety issue for our kids. And I just want to say, wow, on the response. I was really nervous. I think superintendent could tell. I just thought, oh, we don't need anything bad happening to our kids. And it was so bad over at Dodson, which we had never seen that before. So it's just it's a bad situation. So thank you to everyone and the neighbors. Actually, we think we got a couple couple of nice shout outs on Facebook today from some of the neighbors. So they're really happy that we were able to take care of that right away. So, and we're preparing for our upcoming Safe and Healthy Schools Commission meeting. It's kind of finally forming. We've been kind of testing the water, seeing where we need to go, having a lot of dialogue, and I think this meeting will be kind of formalizing what the outline of meetings will look like monthly. We're going to actually set an ongoing date, which will be at the same time every month, and a couple of exciting things that we're going to talk about for the process. Chief of Staff and everyone have been working so hard on it, so thank you to that, and I'll be updating you all next time on some of the great decisions made at that next meeting. So thank you all.
Thank you. Mr. Smith?
Well, I don't know how I follow all of those comments because they all are so good and inclusive, but I'll say yesterday was a great day. I got a chance to get to 9 different schools. It was pretty exhausting, but it was great because I got to talk with just teachers and kids and even the lunchroom workers. There was nobody that in any sector that I skipped out on, and it was a good time. And the later half of the day, I got to go with Senator Gustafson. He broke away from Tracy and came and hung out for a little bit. But it was a good time. Much to be seen, and like everybody has said, the staff did good. I talked to Principal Verdi out of Spanish Springs Elementary, and he said this, I think, is his second year there, but as far as first days go, he said this was one for the books. It was really, really smooth. And the same thing was echoed by Principal Duty, and I'm going to forget the name, but the gal at Jessie Beck, she said the same thing. Learned some interesting things about some different private schools who are trying to utilize our system for one class for 100 days, that I thought was interesting and I'm discouraged by, but we'll see how that turns out. And the TWE, I also got to see TWE, the two-way immersion, and I will tell you I was blown away on day one when you go into the first grade class and the two-way immersion, and they're speaking Spanish and these are mostly Caucasian kids at Jessie Beck, right? When they're speaking Spanish like they were born into it, it was absolutely amazing. So yeah, great things ahead. Next week I'm looking forward to hanging out with Cindy from Facilities. We're going to go do some nighttime visits at a few schools and go meet some of the, as they call it, the 8-hour guys, but the night custodians. So we're going to go do a few schools at 6:30 next Tuesday, starting around then. That's it.
Dr. Taylor?
Awesome. Just kudos to all of my colleagues for getting out there and doing some fantastic things for the first day of school. Like Veronica, this was my first day of school, and I don't know if I was just excited because it was just my first one. I feel like I was one of the kids going to school for the first day. I mean, I tweeted out, who knew the first day of school could be so fun? I had a tremendous time. I got a chance to hang out with the superintendent some. Hit Trainer Middle School. One of the things at Trainer that I thought was really cool is they're one of the middle schools that has 6th graders, but they've done some different things scheduling-wise to ease the transition for the 6th graders into the middle school. So they put them in the one special area, so all the 6th grade classes are together at the end of one hall. So then they don't have to move around as much, and they only have 3 or 4 different teachers instead of having 7 different teachers. I mean, they go to recess at different times and lunch at different times. That's maybe old information for everyone else, but I thought that was fantastic. All of the teachers knew that, well, this is a 6th grade class, so some of those kids might be a little late, because on one class they go to all the way over to the other side, and they knew if a couple of them would get lost, and they did, and they came in late. It was just fabulous to see our schools adjusting to the students having to make an adjustment. Yeah, it really was. It was great, and a lot of other people were there. I want to commend our staff. I don't know if it was Irene's staff, your idea to invite people from the community to come and be a part of it. I mean, many people took part. Everyone I spoke to was impressed. From those, I don't know how many people joined you at 5:30 for breakfast before the bell.
Solo, except for communications.
What a surprise. Why ever would that be?
Because the spackle didn't
Right, well, but other than the 5:30, I didn't see anyone that took advantage of that, but everyone was impressed, had nothing but tremendous things to say about the opportunity, about wanting to take advantage of the opportunity, interacting with the kids. Our staff was as good as our staff always is. It was just, I just had a tremendous time. And no, I don't think I'll be available for 5:30 next year either, but I'll be excited after 5:30. I will be. Let's see, what else did we do? Then I went to spend some time at Elmcrest, which was great. The great thing about Elmcrest, they're one of the 3 schools on that pre-K grant. And they'll start next week. And so they were excited because they were getting new furniture, because there were new classrooms. I saw the smallest love seat I have ever seen in my life. I had no idea you could make a love seat and a lounge chair. Because they had little casual furniture, they had little tables and chairs. It looked almost like for play.
Settee.
It was what?
A settee.
Yeah, it was a little set. for little for little people. But I just thought, how wonderful for those kids going to school for the first time to have things really scaled to their level, and just for them. And the thing that I thought was really tremendous about being able to be involved in that is that those are kids, as we look at Read by 3 and work our way backwards. Pre-K has always been important, but it's even more important. Now we have full-day kindergarten. That's fantastic. Let's not stop and rest there. So it was just great to see our school district working to go even further. What other kids can we help? Can we get involved? And they have a little bit of a transportation issue, because we don't have transportation as a part of that grant. So how can we get some of those other kids that really need to be a part? So that's next. I guess that'll be the next phase. Summer grad was fantastic. Didn't even know we had a summer graduation, but it was tremendous. And man, it was packed. It was absolutely packed. It was really impressive, and the parents and families and the kids were just as excited as if they'd graduated in June, and I think that's the point, because it's still graduation, and let's really celebrate that. So I commend our staff for that. Community Health Alliance, that was fantastic. Saw many of us there, staff and trustees. And then I also wanted to, as such as Lisa did, another bump in the road was the well issue out at Verdi Elementary School, and just nothing we can do about that. It's one of those things, but we didn't just say, well, it isn't our fault. Staff got involved, got some hand washing stations out there, got water out there, and I had a chance to communicate with Susan Kehoe out there, the principal, and she said everything's being done that can be done, and we're working it out fine and just hunkering down. So this great, tremendous response from our staff to just be responsive, to make sure kids are safe, and that our teachers and faculty are safe out there as well. Then there's one more thing finally. I got a chance to speak at something called DigiGirls. DigiGirls is something that Microsoft puts on. It's one part of their community outreach efforts, and this to expose high school age girls to all of the career options in the field of technology. 100+ girls, 2 days at the university, and they have women that come in, the women that are successful in the various technology fields, STEM fields, science, technology, engineering, and math. They have keynotes, they have workshops, they make video, they make an app, they learn how to build a robot, they do all these different things hands-on, and then they get a lot of free swag too, by the way, which I picked up as well. But it was just great to be a part. Great energy. I closed both sessions on both days. It was just great to see that that Microsoft makes that kind of effort. It's free of charge. They feed them breakfast and lunch. It was a great program, and hopefully more girls will at least see those as options, just as career options, as that field continues to outpace the growth in other career opportunities. So it was and all that was in about a week, because I was on vacation. So I can't keep this pace up for the rest of the school year, but it was a lot of fun.
Good. And for me, I had a great week. Started off last Saturday. I got to drive Howard to Carson City for our NASB board meeting and in-service training. And I think I said hello when he got in and goodbye when he left. But it was a wonderful, wonderful trip. I learned a lot about Howard and some of his wants and so forth. So it was quite nice to have that. And then I love the new teachers' breakfast. Several of my former students were even there that are entering their first year of teaching, and they're so excited. but they're nervous. And I think back every year I was nervous the opening day of school. I think that comes with the territory. But it was really nice, and I want to thank the Teachers Association for sponsoring that and bringing it back, because it's been on a hiatus, I think, for about 3 years. And I really think that it is well worth it, the WEA and everybody that puts it on, because it makes those new teachers feel like they're joining family. And that's what they're doing, and it was wonderful. And then I got to go to the captain training. I was in the afternoon, and I hope that expands to more people. But one of the main things that this did was it gave all the kids that participated in a look at other schools, so they don't say, oh, that's that school over there, and we're this school over here. But they broke into groups and had to cooperate with each other with hula hoops and putting on a deal, going through hula hoops and things like that. And so the understanding of sports teams throughout Washoe County was terrific, and the two leaders were magnificent that did the training, and that was great. And then, like all of you say, summer graduation. And when I sit there, I look at those children going through the graduation in the summer, and I realize behind each one of those kids are 10 or 12 staff members helping them to succeed and get their diploma, instead of just saying pack up at the end of school and go whatever they do. They see them through, and it was tremendous. And I got to talk to some of the families, and you're right, they're up in the balcony. Yes. The whole balcony was full. And so I was going to my car, and a couple families that live in my neighborhood stopped me and said how thankful they are. And they mentioned a couple names and for these people, because our daughter would have slept the summer away and wouldn't have graduated. But they made it so that if they didn't go and work during the summer for graduation, it was letting these people down. And so there was a real good vibe there. And then first day of school was wonderful. Started at Sparks High School, go Railroaders. And what they do is they get up at sunrise, and they have a senior sunrise rally, and they got their little I call them Burger King hats. I think maybe they got them and sprayed all the Burger King off. And they have their fun time sunrise, and then they go home and get out of their pajamas, one boy told me, and get dressed for school and come back. And I gotta say, the atmosphere at Sparks High School was absolutely terrific. And the people there, this one little girl, it was a freshman, and she was crying. And I said, let's go get you some help. And before I walked 2 steps with her, she's an avid student, there was Kevin Carroll to help her. And he took her under his wing, so to speak, and says, oh, you're going to have this teacher first period. He used to teach over at Sparks Middle and everything. And by the time he spent 5 minutes with that girl, the tears changed to a smile. And she's going in a wonderful program for her, and he signed her up for the tennis team. And so these people are worth their weight in gold, the way they interact with the students. Then I went over to Booth, and I got a chance to see that my vote for our new superintendent was not a wasted vote, because there was a little girl, and I'm not kidding, she was only about this tall, dressed to the nines in a pink outfit and everything, crying, and her mother and her grandmother were trying to get her registered. And I walked over to talk to this guy, and I turned around, and here's that little bitty girl in the pink dress being cuddled by the superintendent of schools for Washoe County School District.
She was cute.
And she was a doll. And, you know, I just thought to myself, I said, we have a complete team with the addition of Tracy Davis as superintendent. Then we went over to North Valley, and you know, you seem to think that the opening day of school, they're saying, what's your name, what's your name, what, okay, sit over there, they're taking care of all that. Not this guy. Chemistry, AP chemistry. He, in fact, gave us, he had jars of water out there, and he pulled it out, and of course these things fell apart, and they were having a lesson starting day one with lessons to teach kids and utilize all the time for 180 days so that they learn something was so impressive to me. I had to, it was just fantastic. I've told everybody. And then we went to Bennett, where there's a new principal and new vice principal, and great, and I thank the staff. I thank everybody that does this, communications, putting on and having people there, and Dan leading me by the collar and getting me to where I should be. And it was just a wonderful opening, as you guys have said. I've never been through an opening day of school, and this is my 5th one that I haven't received a phone call, except one. And I went to school with her, and she's now in charge of her grandbabies, and she said she went over there to school and was received in a warm, caring manner. Usually I get, man, I need help getting another teacher. I don't like the teacher I got. Oh, the lunch was terrible or anything. But this lady took time out of her schedule to take care of all these little grandbabies to call me and tell me what a wonderful experience she had at Washoe County School District. And she said something to me that kind of hit my heart. She says, don't worry about the 100 days and them going to charter schools. Worry about where you go and put them when they come back. She says, because we get our money's worth in public education. And I thought, man, I says, well, I'll see you at the next reunion. But it was nice of her to take the time, and I just want to share that with the staff, because we have a governing team now in place here in Washoe County that's going to do great things. The governing team of staff and the board, we're going to set records. We already did. I think 6,500 showed up, and we were expecting 63, and without any complaints. I mean, not 6,500, 65,000. And we were expecting 63, and not one hassle whatsoever that I have heard. So thank you for being on our team. You do a
Thank you
great
for
job.
having me.
And now it's your report.
Thanks. Wow, there was a lot going on in the last 2 weeks, so I'm going to try to wrap all this up because a lot are things that we've already said, but I'll just say opening was just awesome, and I have to admit, at 12 o'clock, I start texting Kristen and calling the office like, I'm not hearing anything, what's going on? And they're like, it's all good, it's all good. And so as we visited schools today again, everyone echoed that it was one of the smoothest openings they've had. And we did have some few bumps in the road, but by the time there was a bump, somebody had already went to smoothing it out. And so it was already fixed within an hour. So I just want to thank everyone. I know I went to the kickoff barbecue here. I I love that transportation group. They're a rowdy bunch. Psychologists, counselors, MTSS, the people who provide the support behind the scenes too, and going out and telling them thank you and valuing the work that they do as they support our schools, and of course supporting our schools and our leaders. So I kind of wrote down notes because I had tons of stuff to talk about. So if you hadn't had a chance to visit the new North Star, it is absolutely beautiful, and they kicked off last week, and I went to the opening, but it's nice, and they have lots of space and some modern learning areas which will benefit those students. I think I was suckered into hosting the first state superintendent's meeting, which we held last week. But it was great because we're in working groups and talking about how the new laws impact school districts and what we're doing in our district. And Washoe and Clark are the largest, so we tend to get on the ball with stuff and share ideas. So that was a great opportunity and a great work group. I did visit Big Picture. If you are a part of the Innovations family and you know the work that they're doing with Big Picture and getting people to mentor, they went to their annual conference, and I surprised all the teachers, and I took pictures with them and did a whole day with them. And so they were really excited. And just as a note, when they got off the plane, because I had to come back, I was at the airport, and I told them I was there to welcome them back, and they believed it. I was like, okay, not really. It's 11 o'clock at night. I'm on the last flight, right? School visits, AP Chemistry and polymers.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm telling you, none of us wanted to leave. Like, it was amazing. I was like I want to stay. And so there were some great things happening in school. So I'm going to kind of wrap it up with this. We talked about going out to lead, teach, learn, and make history. And when we walked in buildings, there was an element about academics, but there was an element about relationships this time. When I went to Damani Ranch today, their mission was before kids walk through the door, she had printed out pictures of every child, handed them a thing and say, know these faces. Okay, hold on, I'm gonna talk about my little sincere, but the idea of social emotional learning and taking care of the whole child, like, it was very evident in classrooms and buildings and in discussions with our leaders in our building. So I'm extremely excited about that. So I just kind of brought some pictures, my 4 favorite. That's Sincere. And Sincere didn't want to go back to her mom, so I decided that we do the interview together. But she will be a full day K, and her mom was excited about that opportunity because she sped and she has some things, but it was just a great opportunity for her. Cute as a button, but ready for school with her backpack, and when you see them that small, ready to go, it's just amazing. This is so funny because his mom actually took that picture, and I had to send it to communications. When we were at Esther Bennett, I had an opportunity to meet with their parent organization. They actually came out to meet me, and his mom brought him over and said, will you really take a picture with him? He was so cute, and he was excited about the first grade. And just in talking to the mom about instruction and what we're doing for kids, and nice to see that we do have families engaged, and talked about how they can help us engage more families who are not engaged and utilizing the resources we have to bring others in for their kids. And so they were excited about that at Bennett, so I'm really excited about what they will do. And I think there's a picture with that parent organization, which we took because they wanted to take it. But the energy of those parents right there on the first day of school, and they do a lot of work, and they are committed to getting information out, because if you talk to some of our families, what we know is some of them don't understand the components of Read by 3. Some of them didn't know that there was going to be full day K, and then they're asking questions about high. And so we need to use all the resources we can to get to people, and also to explain to people what this means for their kids when they become 3rd graders. And so we're really going to launch a campaign for that. And I think the last picture I have sums up what we are really about. I started off the day with Sincere in kindergarten, and we ended the day with the potential of the class of 2019 to graduate in their dedication and commitment to learning. And as we talk about the work we do for every child by name and face to graduation, the first day of school was about the kindergarten journey, and that journey for graduation does not start in the 12th grade. It starts in pre-K, and it is a summative work of 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, all the way up to 12th grade. And so we have to do the best we can with our kids and build relationships so they feel like they're in a safe environment. And I truly believe after this first day of school, when we walked in buildings, we felt it. And not only did we feel it, people talked about it. Like, it was open enough to talk about, and you can see evidence of the work that we want to do with kids. So I'm excited too. Oh, wait, I have one more thing. Victor Shabani will be mad at me. So Rise Academy, here's a note. Last year, on 8/21/14, Victor had 488 students enrolled. This year, he has 1,280 enrolled. Last year, he had 0 graduates. This year, he has 24 graduates already, and then there's still a few finishing the HSPE. Last year, he had no one come to his open house. This year, he's already put 222 students through a mandatory student orientation at Rise and another 44 scheduled. And I think when we talk about taking care of kids from the start to the finish, this is evidence of the work that we're doing in our schools. So a big thank you to everyone, every district employee out there, getting the word out about what we afford students and getting them engaged in our programs.
That was great. You know what? I always like to save the best for last, so you may be the last.
I wanted to just touch on the beautiful article about Mr. Fong at Libby Booth.
Yes.
On the front page of the paper today. Just a personal note, my father was friends with the family, and so I know he's smiling from heaven. He was a mentor to Ben, the oldest sibling in the family, who was the first one to earn his degree, and he's a Worcester graduate. But I just thought it was a beautiful, comprehensive story about his journey and now the beautiful impact he's going to have on our Booth kids. And I am confident we are going to move mountains at Libby Booth with this. So I wanted to just
It's
mention
a fantastic
that.
article.
Yes.
Well, and his school STED this year is out of the zone. What is it?
Right. They did amazing
Acceleration
things.
zone. The first, yeah, it's the first school in the state of Nevada, I believe, to accomplish that. Is that right?
Well, not exactly like that because it's our zone. It's a Washoe County School District.
Okay.
That's our system. So let's say out of the Washoe County School District acceleration zone, they are the first school to fly.
To fly out. All right. 2 years.
And just so we're all clear, when you go in and you look at 3 years worth of trend data, I don't want to get real technical in that. So when we had the opportunity to let them fly, it was based on 3 years of trend data too.
That's fantastic, I think.
Yeah.
Give STED a hand. I mean, they deserve it. And Mr. Fong has some of that to be credited to him. All right, consent items, 3.02 through 3.08. Is there a motion?
I'd like to pull
Okay.
304.
3 what?
304.
Okay. Any others? Is there a motion to approve the other items then?
I move that the Board of Trustees approves consent items 302 through 308, except 304.
I second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same signal. So carried. Let the record show unanimously. Okay, 304. Approval of award of bid for lock and key hardware exterior classroom made pursuant to request for bid 054-01-07-16 to Intermountain Lock and Security Company in the estimated amount of $441,007.26. Mr. Cobb. Okay.
Mr. Cobb and Ms. Sullivan, so
Okay.
we're happy to answer any questions.
Where's the 26 cents? No. It's a very simple thing. One of the things that I remember when I first came on this board was Todd, taxpayer, yodeling about we keep trying to replace doorknobs and we never seem to see the end of it. Then I know that there was a suit on someone's behalf that had something to do with this. I'm just wondering, does this take care of everything once and for all?
Chris Cobb, your Chief Facilities Management Officer. What you're doing here is you're authorizing the purchase of the actual materials. We're in the process. The board in April of 14 approved with the bond money to do the door lock interior at every school. And that's the handle system and the lock system. It's a very unique system that has a specific key set that's different, that is numbered to us here at the school district, so that it can't be copied. It's not a typical straight shank. It's actually got an angle to it, so nobody can make this. So the authorization tonight is to purchase materials. We're still working through the projects. We could be purchasing more materials after next year, because you're looking at the 93 schools. I think we're about a third of the way through. We're still working on the rest. Additionally, the handles that go with this is not part of lock sets. The handles also allow us to now have ADA handles throughout our interiors. So we're actually getting a twofer on this. One, we're having the safety system and allows the teachers to lock the door from the inside or the outside. Additionally, now you have the handles too that throughout the district will meet ADA, just because of the lever type. They're not the knob type.
Okay. So we're on top of doing this as quickly as we can.
Absolutely, sir.
Okay. That's fine. I'm happy.
Motion.
I move to approve item 304 on the consent agenda.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same saying. Carries unanimously. Thank you,
What's
Mr.
that
Cobb.
26 cents for? No.
Okay. Budget items, 4.01, update, presentation by staff and discussion by the board regarding funding for full-day kindergarten. For information and discussion only, Tom and Mike. Well, just Mike.
I think the chief of staff needs to help and turn it on.
Look at the one that looks like it's got bad breath. No, down there.
Thank you. Unfortunately, Tom can't be here today. His father passed away this last weekend, and he's dealing with those matters.
Can we stop then for a moment of silence for his dad?
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, President, Superintendent Davis, fellow board members, and Student Representative Hood. Nice to meet you. I think you'll enjoy your time here. My name is Mike Schroeder, Budget Director. Normally I get up here and I don't have a lot of good things to say. It's usually bad news or bad situations. And I'm excited to report that for the first time in Washoe County School District's history, we'll be able to offer full-day kindergarten to all our schools and to all our students. Thanks for the applause, but it really had nothing to do with me. This has been something that's probably been going on for at least 15 years through directions of boards, prior superintendents, this board, this superintendent. There's been a constant push for full-day K throughout all the classes in the state. About 10 years ago, we got the biggest influx for that. They approved a big amount to start full-day K at a lot of schools. We had roughly about 24 of those. That was back in 2006. That continued for about 7 years. And then in the 2013 legislature, there was another expansion. Part of that expansion had to do with Zoom schools. They approved Zoom funding. Zoom funding is for our highest ELL population schools. The Zoom funding allowed expenditures for full-day K. So what happened is, bless you, 8 of our schools became Zoom schools. Zoom funding paid for those 8 schools. There really wasn't an expansion of our continuing full-day K funds. I think we got one more school that converted to full-day K. So we had about 33 schools at that point in time. The second year of that biennium in 2015, there was a bigger push, more money put into full-day K. At that point in time, we continued the 8 Zoom schools and expanded to about 44 schools that had full-day K. So that put us right about 52. That meant about 10 of our schools did not have full-day K at the end of the last fiscal year. So this last legislative period, the governor proposed and the legislature approved the final expansion for full day K. The plan was to do half of those remaining schools in the first year of the biennium and the other half in the second year of the biennium. And fortunately, the way the numbers worked out, we're able to do all of this in the current fiscal year.
Right.
And you might ask, well, why the heck are we doing this now? Why didn't we know about this when the legislature approved all this money? Because we really didn't know what portion of that funding we were going to get. First of all, it was the Zoom funds. We had to identify which schools were going Zoom. And if they go to Zoom schools, then they currently were being paid with full day K funds. So that would free up those funds if those funds continued, but we didn't know if they were going to continue or not. So once we knew that, then it's like moving those schools to Zoom frees up full day K funds, which therefore we can move down the remaining schools that had half day K. That expansion also, they expanded full day K funding a little bit too to allow us to move down a little bit further. And by moving Zoom schools and full day K funds like that, it ends up freeing up some of our general fund allocations. And essentially those were going to go to all those remaining schools. Now it can go to the remaining ones and allow full day K for all our schools. So that's kind of how that all works out. The other part we found out about full day K is that the allocation for 2017 goes up to 96 million. For 2016, it's about 75 million. The understanding is that Zoom schools will not be paying for full day K in 2017. That will allow us to move down our list and provide more funds to Zoom schools with that Zoom funding. But those kindergarten teachers moved to full day K fund. And my understanding is it's only supposed to pay for half of those teachers. Because essentially with full day K, we were already paying half of the teacher costs when they expanded these programs. They're just picking up the other half. So until we get what our share of that 96 million is, I can't really say what impact that would have on us. We asked the Department of Education, it was not till July 30th where we really solidified the amount we were going to get. We asked them to kind of continue that estimate out to 2017 because we need to plan for that and make it part of our budget. We haven't received that back from the state yet, so we'll continue to monitor that and ask them for that information. The last part of full day K has to do with portables. There's $1 million allocated for portables in fiscal year 2016. We put in an application for that. I don't believe Clark County School District is applying for any of those funds. I think there's one charter school that is, and I'm not really sure about the rurals, but we haven't heard back on that yet. I think we should be hearing something back on that pretty soon. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have about full day K for the upcoming year.
Any questions?
Well, I just want to kind of pipe in on when we work with the state and when we get guidance, it's not always neat and in a package and in a timely manner. And unfortunately for Washoe, we start school before everybody else. And we received the decision the day before we met with the principals. And if you live the life of the principal, you know the weekend before the teachers come back, like you're trying to get everything in order. So sometimes the communication might have been simultaneously, but we were like under the gun with finally getting what they were going to give us for money to figure out. And I think when we figured it all out, we ended up with like 2 schools. I think that would have been left out maybe. But as a district, we take care of all our children. And as a result, we just allocated the staff for those other 2 schools. But it has been, I don't know any place I've been to where people aren't talking about it's been a good thing. And today when I spoke with Debbie Smith, there was like a little tear in her eye when she talked about this work, because this has been going on for a while, trying to get Nevada at this place. But for the team who worked Thursday night, Friday morning before we met, thank you, because I know that was hard work trying to figure out the funds and categories and how we can make this work. So thank you, Mike and Kristen and OSP and all the people who figured it out so our kids can be successful.
Well, thank you for that. And I think all the superintendent, the board, area superintendents and principals, they're really willing to make this work. I mean, they do everything they can out of the schools to put these classrooms in and get everybody going.
Something I would just add is in the couple of schools that I talked about full day K with on yesterday and today, one of the unintended, at least from my end, unintended consequences in a positive way is there were families that were paying privately for their kids to be in full day K because it wasn't accessible. And so some schools saw a more than projected increase because of parents that used to pay and they were planning to pay, and now they didn't have to because it was free. So it's one of those things that really helped families in some cases save some money because they didn't have to pay for that externally.
Exactly.
And I had never really thought about that, but it was an unintended, positive result.
Yes, my parents are happy.
Well, good, because I think those 2 schools that would have been funded would have been your parents.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you very much, Mike.
All right, thank you.
And give our best to Tom. Okay, that brings us to 5.01, approval of the written settlement agreement and release of claims between the district and Sharon Lansbury, surviving spouse of Michael Lansbury, in the amount of $141,431.08, and providing for the complete release of all potential claims arising from the death of Michael Lansbury at Sparks Middle School on October 21st, 2013, for discussion and possible action. Chris.
Good afternoon, President Mayor, Superintendent Davis, trustees, Mr. Malloy, Mr. Hood. Welcome. Chris Reich, for the record, Interim Chief General Counsel. Yes, this item, as just read by President Mayor, is recommended that we, as a board, approve the written settlement agreement and release of claims between Ms. Lansbury and the district. As you all recall, Ms. Lansbury is a surviving spouse of Michael Lansbury, the Sparks Middle School teacher who was tragically killed back in October of 2013. District staff and the General Counsel's office has been working with Ms. Lansbury and her attorney regarding the benefits owed to Ms. Lansbury and potential claims that she has. The group health insurance coverage that was supposed to end, I believe it was June 30th of 2014, was continued while those talks went on for Ms. Lansbury. In December 2014, Ms. Lansbury's counsel communicated to the Office of General Counsel parameters for potential settlement. The parties have since entered into a tentative written agreement, which was attached to this agenda item. And at this point, I wanted to note that there was no attorney's fees sought in that settlement agreement, and as well, the matter's been handled in-house, so there's no external attorney's fees as well. I wanted to break down for the board what that settlement amount includes. On the financial section, you'll see the $144,431.08. Of that, 148 days are computed the accumulated sick leave days at the rate of pay Mr. Lansbury was receiving on the date of his demise, just over $300 per day. And that equates to the $44,431.08. And then there's a lump sum cash amount of $100,000 to be paid to Ms. Lansbury. And that is consideration of all the release of claims that are contained in that settlement agreement. And the recommendation is that the Board of Trustees approves this written settlement agreement. And I'll take any questions.
And that includes 3 years of group insurance, correct?
Correct. There's a provision in the settlement agreement that the health insurance coverage, single health insurance coverage for Ms. Lansbury will continue at the date of final execution of the agreement. If approved right now and signed today, it would begin today for 3 years.
And that's for her and her family?
Correct. It's like an employee received for just the employee. So.
Okay. So, but the extent, it's just, she's
I'm
getting
not sure
the same thing that a guy would get for his family.
It's actually for it's like an employee. I don't know if she has dependents on health or her health insurance or not, but it's the agreement was for her health insurance.
Okay.
Okay. Well, I'll make a motion. I move that the Board of Trustees approves the written settlement agreement and release of claims between Sharon Lansbury and the Washoe County School District, providing for a lump sum payment to Mrs. Lansbury in the total amount of $144,431.08 and continued coverage under the district's group health insurance plan for a period of 3 years from the effective date of the settlement agreement, given in exchange for Ms. Lansbury's complete release of all potential claims.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same signal. Passes unanimously. Let the record show. Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Okay, 6.01, board member request for future board of trustees agenda and agenda items. If any trustee is interested in receiving additional information from individual departments or regarding specific initiatives in the strategic plan, please make those requests at this time so staff is able to prepare, and please be specific on what you would like to see. As a result of multiple requests, for example, these items will be on the future agendas. Gifted and talented, special education, and the strategic plan initiative related to 21st century learning strategies. Anyone have anyone? Howard.
I have two. And I'm not exactly sure how to frame this, so I'll just spit it out, and Mr. Malloy will help. I think the board, as a whole, needs to have a conversation regarding legal counsel, in-house and out of house. I am constantly being asked questions as to why we're paying so much for this, that, and the other thing, and it's difficult at times to explain it. I think that we all need to understand precisely what it is that's happening, how it's happening, why, and what we get as a result of it. That's number one. Number two, I'd like to have a conversation regarding internal audit. I think there is an awful lot of misunderstandings and things like that that we need to clear up. And the best way to do that, I think, is to have an open conversation. I've asked Mr. Malloy to help me draft the agenda items so that they will be inclusive and will not get us into difficulty. But I, for one, am up to here with the open meeting law being used as a scimitar. I've had it. So let's be as open and frank and complete as we possibly can. Thank you.
Okay. So I'll add to the list legal issues and audit, internal audit.
And do you want, just for clarification, there's been a previous item for internal audit, so we don't have to have 5 different items that we put it together. So
Sure.
You want me to give that to you?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Anyone else?
Mr. President,
Oh, excuse me, Mr. Malloy.
I just wanted to point out that I've discussed this before the meeting with Mr. Rosenberg, and it's my recollection, it's my understanding that the issue of legal counsel and who reports to whom is passed at a previous board meeting a few months ago, and I explained that to Mr. Rosenberg. It's my understanding that the Chief General Counsel now reports to the superintendent, and I, of course, pursuant to the contract that I have with this board, report to the board. I don't know what else needs to be done. I'm not clear on that, and I explained that to Howard. But, I mean, Howard still feels...
We need to understand that one particular trustee, Trustee Rosenberg, is as dense can possibly be.
I don't believe that for a minute.
And thank you, you're about the only one that doesn't. In any case, what I'd like to do is have an open discussion so that we're all clear at the same time of who reports to who, what the framework is, why the framework is, because I'm getting a lot of complaints from people saying we're paying entirely too much money for legal.
So, and just so we're all on the same page, do you want, like, so we show you what it is that chief legal that reports to the superintendent is in charge of, like special education,
Yes.
504,
Yes.
FERPA laws, blah, blah, blah,
Yes,
blah, blah, right?
because once that happens, we also have something else to look at as we hire a new legal counsel. And I think that would clarify things tremendously.
And in that same presentation, you would like to see what Mike Malloy is, so you can compare and contrast, I'm assuming?
Yes.
Is that what
Yes.
you're asking
Yes.
for? Okay. I just need clarification.
You're clarifying my thinking as we're going.
Okay.
It's cooperative.
I think what I do on behalf of this board is pretty well laid out in my contract. That having been said, if Mr. Rosenberg has more questions, I'm happy to help him with it. On the other issue, on the second item that Mr. Rosenberg raised, I just wanted a matter of record. What I've been doing ever since I've had this position is review every board meeting agenda item before it's finalized. I review them all on board docs, and I've made plenty of changes and amendments to a lot of the originally suggested text of those titles and the underlying content as well. I don't see this as any different than I get from staff. Staff it provides me through board docs, at least that's been my experience, with the original draft of these items, and then after the chief of staff looks at them, I look at them, I may make some
Should we be
changes,
having
and
this discussion?
then it's adjusted again.
Are we on agenda items or discussion of?
We're on agenda items.
Okay, just want to make sure.
The suggested agenda items, as
Okay.
I understand it. And I'm talking about the text of agenda items, yes. Yeah. And so I don't know what's new here, but I'm happy to do whatever helps.
Okay, well,
What's new is, once again, we have a particularly dense trustee, and that trustee wants to discuss this openly.
and we'll put them on a further agenda and see if what we can do. Okay? Okay. Any others? Mr. Smith.
I would like to see maybe a presentation from Bryn LaPinta on the information I learned yesterday about students being able to come to the district for one class in an effort to gain their 100 days to get their $5,000. I know there's some NRS that we have to comply with, but it seems to me like it's a little like there's a spirit of the law and then there's the law and maybe there's some convolution, and I don't know how, maybe it's just me, but I think some other trustees might be interested in just hearing how that is and, you know, how that's going to work out. And I know she's working with I think the treasurer's office to try to get guidance when I spoke with her, but just some information on that.
I agree.
Okay, so we'll put that on the agendas for how the
So we're gonna.
100-day is calculated.
So I think there's two pieces so we're very careful, because I think it will tie into also when they go to charter schools and how they are allowed to play in activities. However, the piece where it has to do with the voucher, like this system, we're not in charge of the voucher system, and I don't want to get in the business of interpreting what the state thinks the voucher system is. I mean, for our staff too, because that becomes sticky, and that's not ours, but the piece that applies to us, so we're all on the same page, because then we start coming up with rules, and the state says no, and that's, we don't own the $5,000. That's the state's charge, but we'll talk about as it applies to enrollment.
Right. That's,
okay.
That's the angle that I
we're all
want.
on the
As it
same
applies
page.
to enrollment. I just want to see
Yeah.
what our obligations are in taking in a student for one class. I get if we want
Yeah.
to take a kid for a full day. If you want to go to a school for your 100 days, fine. But we get 100 days of giving you all the hours on that day to prove that we're good at what we do, and maybe persuade some parents to keep their kids. But coming for music class, that's what I'm trying to learn.
Isn't it, oh boy. It has been a rule all along, ever since charter schools came into existence, that if a child wants to play the cello and wants to go to Sparks High for cello, he can do that. Isn't that correct?
That's
I
correct.
actually want to just, I'm feeling uncomfortable about having this degree of detail on the conversation. I think it was requested as an agenda item for the very reason that we need to have a conversation about how this piece of legislation, the implications for us, and what the state guidance has been thus far, and there has been some from the treasurer's office. So maybe an update on that is
For
what we really need
enrollment.
to- I'm sorry to interrupt, but I
Yeah.
just felt like we were starting to get into the conversation. I don't.
I'm on the same page with Trustee
Yeah.
Frankel on that, by the way.
Okay,
I have one more,
okay.
if I can.
Yeah, sure.
The other thing is I'd like to maybe request like a work session or a strategy session where the trustees get together and we try to work towards adapting a strategy where the 7 trustees there's a communication strategy, we're working together. Something like a system similar like what Clark has, or other options that may be available, so the trustees are inclusive in what it is that we're doing all the time. Not saying that we're not always, but I'm just saying like just a strategy so that it shows the relevance of the trustee to the community, and we're doing something like that. So there are different models and strategies that we could do, and if we have a work session, we can maybe look at some of those strategies and how we can see what we like and not like.
Okay.
So I'm clear. I am to come back with strategies of how you are relevant in the community?
No.
Okay, I got
We're
on clear on
gonna have
that.
a work session
Okay.
of different strategies that we could implement.
So is that part of the other work session or a different work session? So we're on the same page.
It may be combined, but
Excuse me, Veronica, and you were putting together a
Right.
work session. Is this going to be part of that work session?
I would think it would be, and the only reason we had delayed the governance work sessions, we wanted to have the open meeting law one first, because we thought that was a priority, but that has been extended. In fact, and she and I recently spoke about, we need to go ahead and get that, because we can't wait for an opinion from the AG's office. So it should be included
As an
in
agenda.
yes.
okay.
What he's saying will be included
Absolutely.
in the in-service or whatever
Just work session.
Okay, so it won't be on an agenda to be in this workshop. Is that all right?
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Any others? None? Okay. Our next, public comment, I don't have a card. Anyone in the audience want, public comments? Seeing none, I will close the public comment. And our next, meeting is August 25th, 2015 at 2 p.m. at the boardroom. Okay, we are adjourned.